Hey,
More
hello.
big words for you, little fella.
Uh,
Um, so I want to drop this news on you as soon as I could. Um, I may or may not have a ticket next Thursday. I want a ticket to go see Terrifier 2 at AMC 28.
nice.
There's still some tickets if you want to go with me. Um, Catch is I'd be able to hang out before, but afterwards I got to get right back home. New job, new stuff going on. So, um, yeah, I don't know if it's at 7:30.
On Thursday? Okay. Yeah, it might work. Is it assigned seating or anything, or am I even gonna be able to sit by you?
It's assigned seating. I can tell you where I'm seated once I check the ticket. Once we're out of this.
Okay, yeah. Send me the ticket number and I'll take a look at it. Fast and Furious number two. I love Vin Diesel, but come on, yeah, dude. I don't know who would put Fast and the Furious in their top 10 action, but there's one guy right there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's all about the family, man.
I
Uh,
absolutely defend the first film. It is unlike any of the others. And for a copy paste of another movie, it's done way better than the other movie. I said what I
Stop. It
said.
doesn't even touch Point Break. Doesn't even
It's
touch it.
way better.
Doesn't even
Way
touch Point
better.
Break. Patrick
You
Swayze and Keanu make fun of both of them, and Gary Busey. He makes fun of them too.
Keanu, that is a full movie of Bill and Ted, but with bank robberies. It's not.
I love it.
It's it's cheese. It's ultimate cheese.
Okay, so it's like race cars. You know, I live my life a
So
quarter mile at a time. It doesn't matter
fast,
whether you
too
win
fast,
by an
too
inch or a
furious.
mile.
Too Fast, Too Furious on is super cheese. The first one actually made a lot of race car sense. The rest of them are a joke.
Yeah, Jason's saying Pitch Black is freaking amazing, dude. It really, really is. I really need to
It
go
is.
back. Caleb loves Chronicles of Riddick. I need to go back and give that
Yes,
another
sir.
chance. Now that I've had enough time for it to breathe, I didn't mind the latest one. It wasn't anything special. It was kind of it was played very safe. I'll just leave it at that. But safe enough to where I still enjoyed it and didn't do anything to irritate me. But I do like the
I
first a lot. But yeah, I agree with that.
over the past couple days, I finally revisited Dreamcatcher. It had been a super long time, and it's funny. I liked it more this go round. I had a lot of fun with it. I remember when it first came out, I was like, it's kind of cool. It's kind of whatever. It didn't really do a whole lot for me, but something for the past like 3 years has been telling me to go back and rewatch it. And I finally did. And I was like, I had a good time with that whole movie. Like,
Yeah,
and
I like it. I like it till the third act. It doesn't quite stick the landing. I like how weird and like creepy and just it's very different and it's like it's
yeah,
quirky and nasty and it's very I don't know, man. It's very all over the place. And the fact that it takes place in the Pennywise universe, I don't know.
which rumor
It
has it, I did some digging. Mr. Gray might very well also be a like another like a split of Pennywise,
mm,
which
yeah,
I don't know how I feel about. I don't really care, but I was doing some research on it after I watched it, and I was like, "Huh, that's cool. Huh, that's cool. Huh, that's cool." Like just some little nods and tidbits. But I know Stephen King was all about uniting his universes, hence
yeah.
Dark Tower.
Dude, I was talking about a little bit before you came on. Have you got to watch any of the new Jeffrey Dahmer series on Netflix?
Not yet.
Dude, that guy, what's his name again? Steven
Evan
Peters,
Peters.
Evan Peters. I don't know why I can't remember. But yeah, he is awesome. Like
Go
his like Boston accent or whatever that he's going for, and like he maintains that perfect character the whole.
go go back and watch the first two seasons, the first two of American Horror Story. Evan Peters' character in both is amazing.
Right.
Honestly, the first four seasons are about the only ones that I find worth watching. But the first two are phenomenal.
Yeah, I faded out on. I can't remember if I finished 2 or not, but I accidentally watched the last season before the last couple, where it's talking about how like the Earth gets scorched or whatever, and they got to go to some house or whatever it is, and then there's like witches and stuff, and then it kind of goes back to the first season. So I did it like I jacked up the order, but it still worked well. And then when I went back to watch one is phenomenal. Season 2 is okay. I can't remember if I finished it though. Last Action Hero.
Arnie fan.
Do what?
Arnie fan. I don't care. I have no shame in my list.
Yeah, I knew your list wasn't going to be boring. I knew that. I knew going in that it was not going to be like Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, Rambo. Like I knew it wasn't going to be all safe bets. I knew it.
No.
Yeah.
Are those movies awesome? Absolutely, sure. But my list appeals to me more.
Right.
Commando's cool, but it's not my favorite Arnie movie.
Oh yeah, I do love Commando, but I got to be in the mood for it. I really do, because it's not too over the top until he goes into that woodshed and he just starts like killing people with like the pitchfork and the saw blades, and then all of a sudden he's just like sidestepping and just laying waste to everybody. It gets there's once he gets to the compound, it goes off the. I mean, in an awesome way. I just have to be in the mood for it. But yeah, dude, watch that Dahmer and let me know what you think. Yeah, it's man, dude, the level of evil that human beings can go to. I will say, like I was saying earlier, the Dahmer didn't mess with me as much as the Gacy did, though. The Gacy tapes or confession or whatever it is, man. I know
a lot about Gacy because he's the serial killer that I was most intrigued by. Like, I feel like everybody gets intrigued at a young age by a specific one. For me, it was Gacy, and going back and showing how, like I had seen the interviews before. I had seen the stories around him where he was like, "Oh, I'm going to be overly cooperative and claim like this is all. I don't know how this could have happened. Blah blah blah." And then the next split second, just everything's out of his eyes, and yeah, and
Right.
and like that, man.
Yeah. Well, man. Well, yeah. Why do you think I love kills? Yeah.
The Last Stand is fun, but in a top 10 or a top 10 action movie, not up there. I do like The Last Stand. I also really like Sabotage, and I think I'm one of the few. I do wish I could have gotten the original cut of Sabotage that was supposed to be like nearly 3 hours.
Oh.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a lot more interesting.
Nice.
That film apparently got so many reshoots that by the time they were done, Arnold and Sam Worthington were both like, "I can't do this anymore. I've got other commitments."
Yeah. There's a lot of good, like actually, like A Man Apart. I love that. Even like Shaft. I know it's more comedy, but you know, there's just so many, like Behind Enemy Lines, more of a drama, really. But you know, I mean, shoot, Bulletproof. There's just so many good, you know, like I said, I think I talked about it in there, like Two Guns with Samuel L. Jackson with Denzel Washington and Mark Wahlberg is one of the best buddy cop comedy actions. Every time I watch it, I'm just amazed on the chemistry and how much it just goes under the radar when it comes to buddy cop. But
You know,
saying that, like, I love From Paris with Love. I think John Travolta is awesome in that movie.
There's also some movies that I'm like, they are action, but they're also not action. Like Tears of the Sun, Blood Diamond, No Country for Old Men.
So good.
They are fantastic films, but they just kind of fall short of being the traditional sense action movie. That I was like, I can't add those to my top 10 for whatever reason. All three of those are great films.
Yeah, I don't know if I talked about it, but I love SWAT. I think maybe I did talk about it. I can't remember now, but SWAT is it's just a solid movie from start to end. It's got, you know, a little bit of drama in it, twists and turns, like vulnerability. I love LL Cool J and pretty much anything he's in. And Colin Farrell. I've always been a fan of Colin Farrell. Even though
it's been a long time since I've seen that.
Oh God, I watch that movie probably once or twice a year. I don't know why I love it so much, but the Bourne franchise, you know,
Gotcha.
I need to rewatch that. I bought them all on Blu-ray, and then I bought them all on 4K. I bought all of them twice now, and I haven't watched them. But
I've
it's a
never been a
commitment.
big fan. I tried it. It just it didn't do it for me. I don't know.
The first and the third one are really good. The second one has a problem of just feeling like more of the first movie and more of the third movie. It doesn't have enough to really, you know, like it's the opening and the ending, and then the middle is just more of the middle. The second movie kind of drags the franchise down a little bit. Plus, different director, cinematographer, I believe, as well. So getting on to oops, almost knocked over my drink. To getting on to Halloween 3. This is the last movie in the franchise before Halloween Ends comes out. I'm gonna let Caleb steer the ship for the most part of this movie because I'll get to my feelings on it and in just a little bit here. But I mean,
It's
in the positives, like just look at like, when you look at IMDb or whatever, right? You got Tommy Lee Wallace, right? Love, like he's the director. Love him. Love his work on It, The Fog. I haven't seen Fright Night 2, but everybody loves Fright Night 2. He was in John Carpenter's first full-length movie, Assault on Precinct 13. Like, awesome director. Then you look at the cinematographer, Dean Cundy, right? You got Jurassic Park, amazing. Apollo 13. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of good talent on this. John Carpenter. Obviously, you can feel the influence when it comes to the music. Because I
yeah.
don't think he did all the music. I could be wrong on that one, but he wrote the screenplay along with Tommy Lee Wallace and somebody else I can't remember. But yeah, so I mean, on its own merit, completely removing it from the franchise and giving it its own appreciation. I walked into it, watched it about a month ago or whatever it was, and I have some thoughts on it. But Caleb, I'll let you dive on it, and then when we get to our final thoughts, I'll dive in.
Well, I'm gonna start with how I found Halloween 3. Once I had made it through all of the other Halloween films, I think this is around the time H2O came out. So I'm 6, 7 years old. Blockbuster didn't have Halloween 3. Family Video didn't have Halloween 3, or not Family Video, Hollywood Video. I never saw it at Best Buy, Walmart, anywhere. And finally, one year around Halloween, I dug through the bin of VHSs that were like $3, and I found Halloween 3. Bought it. I didn't even read it, didn't look at it, saw Halloween 3, and I was like, this is it. This is the movie I've been missing. I can't wait to sit down and watch it. The level of disappointment that hit was so obnoxious because I was like, this has nothing to do with Michael Myers. This is what I wanted to watch, is more Michael Myers, and this has nothing to do with Michael Myers. So my first viewing of the movie, I was mad. I was so mad. The case was cool because it had the kids walking in the silhouette with the sun going down, so that was cool.
With the witch, yeah.
So I wish I don't think I do. I have some of my VHSs. That's not one of them, sadly.
Oh yeah, that's a great cover art. I mean, that could be. I mean, if we ever talked about like posters, movie posters, or artwork of the movies, it'd be up there.
It's a really good one. Like it feels like Halloween. Like it just brings out that 80s, 90s Halloween vibe, which we'll get there. So first viewing, super mad. I didn't put it in the rotation of Halloween films that I watched for a long time. Fast forward, I'm maybe 15 years old, and I finally give it another watch, and I thoroughly enjoyed it on its own merits outside of the title. Now, originally, when the first Halloween became successful, John Carpenter, his plan was to do Halloween as an anthology series, release a new film under the title Halloween, and it have nothing to do with the previous. So one Michael Myers, one like Season of the Witch, maybe something more like Body Bags, maybe something more like Tales from the Crypt, something, just all over the place. That was his goal. And he pitched it. And he said, no, we want Michael Myers one more time. Then we'll give you your anthology film. He said, okay, and he took it. The problem, if he would not have titled Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, it would be a great 80s horror movie. But because it is connective tissue to the Halloween franchise that is dominated by Michael Myers, it's hard to separate. It's got a cult following. A lot of people love it, but it falls a little bit short. So those are my initial thoughts, emotions. We can go from here. Do you want to chime in anything before we hit the story?
No, yeah, it really feels like with Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, it really feels like that was, and I don't know for sure, but I mean, and who really does? But it really does feel like a studio thing, like a marketing, like we got to capitalize on this, ride the wave. It doesn't feel like something that somebody's really trying to give another movie its own chance. So it's kind of a double-edged sword where he kind of got screwed over twice, it sounds like. Like, I don't want to do Halloween 2. My first movie's perfect. It's right where I wanted to leave it. Yeah, but if you want to do more, I feel like, I don't know, had it been Halloween 2 Season of the Witch, I don't know. I still don't know if it would have played. Like,
I think it would have worked.
But it
would have felt like they would have need to introduce somebody like the Crypt Keeper or something like that to kind of introduce you to the films as you go. Like just like a little connective tissue to let you know. In today's world, an anthology film is an anthology film. It doesn't matter. Which I actually recently finally saw VHS 94. That was fun.
Me to watch them.
Anthologies are way more acceptable today. I feel like Tales from the Crypt and Creep Show were the only two that you could really get away with doing an anthology at the time.
Yeah.
But when you take something as successful as Michael Myers was in those two films and you delete him entirely, and it's just a whole new story.
Yeah, and it was weird because it's, slashers were hot at this time, right? Like Friday the 13th, Halloween 1 and 2, like it's just starting to build. You had about, now you're 10 years removed ish from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and this seemed like kind of far out there. I mean, Tom Atkins was a known name, but I don't know. Yeah, I think that first movie was so strong. I don't know. I think you could have done it, but it definitely didn't work the way they did it. No, I think getting into the story, I did when I was a kid. I saw it at a pawn shop. I can't remember. I think the pawn shop movies were like $2 for VHS or something like that. But I picked it up, and the guy that was working there that owned it was like, "Yeah, you don't want to buy that. Leave that right there. It's not good. Doesn't have Michael Myers." I was like, "Okay." And it's just one of those things where I don't know why I'm a huge fan of the entire franchise. I don't know. I was almost like in my brain boycotting it because it didn't have to do with Michael Myers, and to throw it in a franchise, I don't know. It just didn't feel right to me, and it just wasn't something that even though there's a huge following for it now, like cult following, like it's 50-50. I feel like either you just don't care or you love it, really. Like nobody's like, I hate this freaking movie, but it's just something that never really inspired me. But after so many years of talking Halloween, I was like, I've got to see this movie just to say I've seen it. It wasn't a waste of 2 hours, I'll say that. But I'd say it just from the little bit, because I always tried to, turn my brain off, turn my ears off when I was hearing people talk about H3. It gave me, like, I think, what I was looking for. I kind of thought something a little bit more grandiose, a little bit bigger, not sky beams bigger really, but something a bit more. But I should have known better, because John Carpenter, when he writes things, probably to shoot them, and they're always toned down a little bit. They're always grounded. They're always like it doesn't get too big. This does feel like something that would happen kind of under the radar, very sneaky, like very thought out and planned. So it works for how he writes. Everything around it works perfectly. It feels like a John Carpenter movie. Like if you didn't know he didn't direct it, you'd never know. It's like Halloween 2 is not technically directed by John Carpenter, but really it is. He did the reshoots and reframed the story to where it feels more like his movie. But it's been quite a while since I've watched H3. Jason says, yeah. Getting into the story a little bit, I'll just start off with a little bit of the beginning, and I'll let you take over. Like the beginning's interesting because it basically starts off with a dude running down the road, and it lingers on there, like it knows perfectly how long to linger on it to build that suspense and that danger, and that like if you were in the middle of nowhere with nobody to help you, with an unstoppable thing chasing you and all that stuff, like it really does a good job of doing that. The music's awesome, the very dim lighting that's all around it. It just makes you feel like you're in a dark alley.
Yeah.
And then some of the gore in that beginning, like when the head gets crushed, looks great, even to today's standards. Which I say that, but like the Thing and like the early to mid '80s set the standard for practical effects that would never really go further. Other than maybe Jurassic Park or there's a couple others, but. Yeah, but and then so you got, I'm just fast forwarding and bouncing around here, but then you got Adkins chasing down the robot, and he just gets in the car, pours gas on himself, and lights himself on fire. And I was like, okay.
That when I first saw the movie, that was the scene that stuck with me. Like that scene where he just gets in the car, and there's no emotion either. Like there's nothing here. Like he just. And light, and it's all what like I remember just being like, who would do that and why? And it actually made me wonder about the plot, but I was still mad.
Yeah, I think the movie is a little bit ahead of its time, not only for the anthology but for what it was trying to achieve with robots. And this is before Terminator, like with cult and magic and all that stuff. Stonehenge. I really think this was ahead of its time, and I don't think people were ready for it. And then on top of that, you connect it to what is now a franchise, and I completely understand why this movie did not work out. I mean, getting into the rest of the story, it's weird because you got Adkins, which I'm assuming he was in his late 40s, early 50s, and then you got this gal who's like early 20s. And like they have this little tension. You can already tell he's a womanizer and not a very good, probably doctor and or family man. He's not a good family man. But and then so that's weird, especially in today's climate. Today's I don't know, awoken brain. I don't know. But anyway, and then it just seems like a very long journey to get to the compound. And then once they're in the compound, it's really cool to watch with they do like a simulation, 3 more days to Halloween, and they got the kid and like the family members, and like once again, awesome practical effects that are super scary. Like the bigger gal in the hotel room or whatever that gets all jacked up. The gore is amazing. It's probably the best gore in the entire franchise of Halloween. I mean, an argument could be made. Practical effects and gore could be. But the middle kind of sags. It's weird. And then the ending is weird. Awesome bad guy. I will say, Colonel Cochran or whatever, awesome bad guy. He has kind of a gleeful emotion about it, and he's just so like passive. And also, I mean, you gotta love him because he'd be in RoboCop like 5 years later.
I think he was. I prefer his character here than in RoboCop. Like, he fills that character so well in this movie. Like, when you get to him, it's not like some over-the-top Dr. Evil situation that a lot of movies would grow to do. He was just like, yeah, this is mine. This is my idea.
Yeah.
and you're stuck here now. That's awesome. No over the top, no way down. He was just monotone throughout it. I love that. I love it.
Right. Major ending spoilers here, but so they're like, I hate it. Like, there's some, like in the Stranger Things season 3 where they're like walking around. This happens a lot in movies, but they're walking around the bad guy's lair, and there's always like boxes or barrels or something to hide behind, but they don't hide behind them very well, and they're kind of loud, and they're kind of just do. People's eyes are attracted to motion. Like, you're not a ninja, and the facility is very brightly lit. And then all of a sudden they're running up the steps and getting chased after, and it just seemed a little I don't know, a little goofy. The ending is cool though, like with all the deals dropping, and then like the way it destroys him and stuff like that is really cool. But then go ahead.
The phone call, I love that.
Well, another problem I have though is like, so then after Cochran is killed, then they go, they're going to a phone, they're driving, and then all of a sudden, Tracy Milken, I can't remember her name, whatever her name is, the 20-year-old of the daughter of the guy who died in the beginning of the movie or whatever, she just turns out to be a robot and then like starts choking him out, and like there's this fight scene that lasts way too long. He like kills her 3 different times and she keeps coming back. So like it's weird because you have no idea how long she was a robot and why. Like, because I feel like when you watch the movie, there's not a good transition to show you when that was. I think it was something where she was probably programmed the whole time to get him there to save the day, but then she tries to kill him. So I don't know, maybe she got reprogrammed. It's a weird thing that comes out of nowhere. It doesn't lead to anything. I don't get it.
I feel like I don't have that much of a problem with it because a movie like this is gonna throw weird things like that at you. I mean, look at the rest of the movie. It is weird. It is a weird movie to watch. Like that, weird is the right word for this movie. And
right. But it's the third main character, right? Like technically, it's like the second main character. Like you had Atkins, and then you had this gal, and then you had Cochran. There's nobody else that's really a big deal. And then you just turn her into an android and kill her off like she's nothing. Like, it's just weird. Like,
yeah, it's strange. But I didn't really have a problem with it. It was just like, oh, look at that. And honestly, I feel some inspiration for Terminator there with, like, she gets knocked down enough times that she shouldn't be going, and she's still going. Like, yeah.
What's that song? I get knocked down, but I get up again. You ain't never going. Yeah, that's
yeah. Maybe that's where the song came from.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, I will say that seeing his kids with those masks at the beginning of the movie, hearing the evil plan at the end, and then trying to save the day, it really is a very well climactic, open-ended, just like John Carpenter loves with the original Halloween, with The Thing. It's like, was a third of the world's kids killed, and then the creepy crawlies killed the adults. Like, we don't really know. I'm assuming it's...
Did they cut it? Did they wind up cutting it?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but like it leaves it open to interpretation. Like, he's begging for them to cut the feed. Like, but then you realize it's not just that station doing it. So maybe he saved some, maybe he didn't, maybe... Well,
yeah, because it was playing on 3 stations, and he stopped 2 of them. So yeah, but there was that third one. So a third of the total possibility of the pie was still in danger. A third of it was, but so I mean, either way, he saved a lot of lives, and the bad guy's gone. So it's one of those where it feels more real, like a natural kind of ending, because like not everything is always happy endings and put a bow on it. If you put a bow on this movie, it would have been like very
Pointless.
anticlimactic. Like you save all of them and you walk off with the gal who's now not a robot. Like this movie needed something very dramatic to end on. And Tom Atkins crushes the holy bejesus out of that scene.
And I have to say, the music on this film and the music in Halloween 2 are probably my favorite in the franchise just because they're so unique.
That's true. Yeah,
They
I put 2 and 18 over it. But yeah, everything else. Yeah, I probably put the original Halloween. But yeah, it's up there for me too. Now yeah.
it's so different than, I don't know, it's got the most in common with Halloween 2, and those sounds are just like the Halloween 2 theme is so unique in its own way that you can automatically tell that's Halloween 2. And Halloween 3's kind of plays on that same kind of symphonic horror, and it works.
Right, it really does. Well, and especially like for all that it's trying to achieve and go for, it sets the mood and it really tells you kind of the movie you're in for. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I said, the beginning's fairly strong with the development, the build, and then it's like we got to go research this and look at this for reasons why he's invested in it. I don't really buy other than he's horned up for the 20-year-old. Then we go to the facility and it just, I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. It just doesn't click for me, and I don't understand how it clicks for other people. Other than, like I said, like you said, like I get the music, awesome. The gore, the practical effects, awesome. The villain's awesome, but the other characters, and like I don't know. It just seems like
Well, I feel like it's a good movie that has characters that, I mean, not everybody can always be a good guy. Like,
right.
as much as I don't like Tom Atkins' character, he's more human than a lot of good people in movies because he has things that you hate about him. Like that,
Right.
I feel like that's a very human approach. Like Laurie Strode being absolutely perfect in the first two movies is just too much. Like,
Yeah.
if you think about it, everybody has some sort of flaw. It just is. So, kind of targeting that he's not a great guy. He just happens to be a doctor and a father who's not really there. Like, and he's hunting down younger women, and just like he's not a likable guy, but he tries to do a good thing. So, I don't know. I don't. I enjoy a movie that doesn't make your good guy the automatic Prince Charming, perfect good guy.
He is kind of a fun '80s dude to watch. Where like Bond in the '80s, like in the '90s, you just don't see that as much anymore. Like the womanizer, like only cares about himself. Like yeah, like you don't, like you're saying, you don't see flawed characters like that, but that either end up becoming the good guy or just kind of ride that line of just doing the right thing because what other options do you have? Yeah.
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 And I remember when I first watched it, because again, I'm like 6, 7 years old. For the life of me, I thought he was Stacy Keach, and like I had to go back and like do research on who Tom Atkins was because I really thought that was Stacy Keach.
Who's that?
He was the dad in Titus. He's in American History X. He's the leader of the Nazi group.
Oh yeah.
He was in
Yeah,
a
they
lot
do.
of 70s and 80s sitcoms and movies and TV shows.
Yeah, I think he was in. Wasn't he in the original? No, he was in Escape from L.A. He was one of the guards.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I was trying to think about what was coming to my mind. Yeah, yeah. No, yeah. It's I don't know, man. What would you rate Halloween 3?
I'm going to give it two separate rankings. Number one is as attached to the Halloween franchise. It's a 3 out of 10 because it doesn't make sense, it doesn't fit, it doesn't work. On its own merits, I'd say 6.5 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoy it. I have a lot of fun with it. I think it's a flawed movie, but it's a fun Halloween staple. And honestly, it's a movie that I've put on Halloween every year for like 5 or 6 years. I love it. It feels very Halloween-esque from start to finish.
Yeah, so this is something where I've commented on other videos and stuff like that before, but Halloween 3 does not belong in the franchise at all. And I can't hear anything else. Like, it just doesn't. It has nothing to do, doesn't connect anything. You pull that out and never watch it, you don't miss a thing. It does not belong in the franchise. It doesn't belong in a box set. Maybe it could have, but it just wasn't. So I'm glad it's in the box set. Why not, or whatever? But yeah, when Scream Factory put it out on 4K, I didn't buy it. The poster was awesome, but I didn't buy it. I wish I had that poster though, even though I don't know. But as a movie, like, it's interesting. Like, if you're a big '80s, like if you like Fright Night and The Lost Boys and Goonies, which those have a bit of a different energy, but if you just like being transported back into the '80s, the way they shot things, the music, kind of stuff like that, the way people talked, it's just a little different. It's, like we were talking about with Prey, there's some kind of hip lingo and movements in that. When it's shot in the '80s, there's no hip lingo. There's nobody trying to be in the '80s. They're in the '80s. So, you know what I mean? Like, you can still do some throwback movies in the '80s and they're still awesome, but it has a different energy to it. And so this has the energy of the early '80s, where like I was talking about with The Lost Boys, '87 is like the biggest year for like big hair, chains, rock and roll. You know what I mean? Like, that one, the energy in the '80s is very, very different as it went on. So on its own merits, for its own time, I can understand people liking it, but for me, I'm going to give it a 5. And I think this is like the first movie I've ever given a 5, because it's not a bad movie, but it doesn't do anything for me either. Like, I can see the good. I don't really have any super big negatives, but it just doesn't do anything for me, and I have no want to rewatch it. It's almost like the Next Generation, but it takes you on a better ride once you get to the house. But there's sometimes, like with the Next Generation, I just watch a YouTube clip of whatever I want to see, because there's moments of insanity that I'm like, God, I like this part right here, but I don't need to watch the whole movie just to enjoy it. So I don't know. But yeah, but it's interesting though, because I would have rather this movie been a success and continue on to see the next iteration of the franchise that would have been, rather than Halloween 4. And I like Halloween 4, but Halloween 1 and 2 are done. Like, you didn't need to touch it anymore. You'll never convince me after Halloween 2 that it was anything more than a cash grab.
Yeah.
I know Mustafa loved the franchise and blah, 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 but still.
I think it would have been a worthwhile investment to continue the anthology, maybe under a different title. I think it could have been a very interesting concept to do, which brings me to my next thought. And I overheard a much more popular YouTube channel talking about the future of Halloween after Ends.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, maybe take all of these unfulfilled scripts and do a bunch of episodes where, you get an episode that's Halloween Returns, you get one that's the rock and roll, maybe you get the Rob Zombie Halloween 3, and they're just different episodes. And I think that is the best idea. A Michael Myers anthology.
I think that'd be dope. I would be all about that. I really would be. I think out of everything I've heard, like, I don't mind doing a Halloween 3 sequel, continuance, reboot, reimagining, whatever. But yeah, I think that out of everything I've ever heard, that's my favorite go-to.
Yeah. When I heard that, I was like, That's actually brilliant. You could sell it to HBO or not Netflix because they'll kill it in a season. And then they were like, release your episodes every late September, early October. It's like,
Right.
This is brilliant.
If you have any like narrative stuff, like get like old cast members to come back, like Daniel Harris or Jamie Lee Curtis to do one, or who like, well, probably not Jamie Lee. She's probably done after this, but whoever you can, I think that'd be really cool too. Real quick, man, we got a couple things real quick. So 6 or so is fair on its own. Yeah, I think I could definitely understand 6, but some people love this movie. I could never really see it going past 8. Like, you'd really have to sell me the epicness of Halloween 3.
It's not an epic film. It just did a lot of really cool things for the time.
It did, but to get past like a 7.5, you'd really have to sell me something for it.
Yeah.
And then, hey, what's up, Jabari? Job's getting us to work on Sunday due to the hurricane. Oh man, like that sucks, man. What do you do, man? Post office? I wouldn't even know. That sucks, but hopefully, yeah, you're making a difference and hopefully helping out, and that's hopefully it's benefiting more than just your wallet, which is not bad either. But I don't miss working weekends, man. I don't miss
not even a little bit.
No.
Although the coolest thing ever was having like a day in the middle of the week off. Because the grocery store is empty, in and out. It's empty and stocked. Nobody else works there. Nobody's shopping there. You just walk in, grab your crap, and leave.
Yeah, I do miss that. Yeah, and everybody's gone to where it's like clean the house easy. Yeah, FedEx driver. Hey, man, I was there, man. Yeah.
Yep, he was right on it.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It sucks, man. Yeah. I mean, that's the nice thing about living in Kansas. Like, well, the bad thing is like weather sucks.
Kansas.
Because it's like super hot. Oh, it's nice for about 5 minutes, and then it's super cold. Like, people, I'm an appraiser, but people putting $70,000 patios on their porch, and I'm like, you do realize you can only use this like 6 times out of the year, and then out of those 6 times, you need to be off, available, and ready to sit on your patio. And for $50,000+ or whatever stupid money you put on your deck or patio, I hope you enjoy the holy crap out of it, because I would get no joy out of that. Like, why didn't you just pour gravel? You just need to stand on it. You're not playing basketball on it. I get so confused when people, like, I would rather people just burn their money in front of me than just do stupid things with their money. I don't know.
One of the things that got me in one of the places I was at was people doing things like putting a pool, like at least with a deck or a patio. Like I can see the appeal to that, but a pool in Kansas,
right?
Why? Right. A deck, like. I can get there with the deck, but you can do it cheaper and you can do it to fill a much better budget. Like it is possible. People don't pay the highest bidder. But like when people say, "Oh, I'm going to put it in a pool," or "I'm going to add a whole section to my house," like it baffled me every time I saw those. I'm just like, why? Like
I know, man. What? And it kind of sucks, man, because like my opinion of certain things gets skewed a little bit because like I work in a very high end part of where I live, and so I see a lot of money. Like I was at a house that was $1.2 million, and I was like, for what? I was like, it's kind of fancy, but it's not a mansion. It doesn't do anything special. And then like I said, like in Kansas, you need a screened in, enclosed, heated and cooled porch to truly enjoy it all year round. Otherwise, you just spent, well, and decks too. Like I will never own a deck again if I don't have to, because you're going to have to fix it. You're going to have to stain it, pour a patio and call it a day. If you own a ranch home like I do. Otherwise, I just don't understand it. My house is 2 feet to the ground. Why did you put a deck? Pour a patio to where nobody ever has to touch it. And it just, I mean, I understand that it also can mess with your foundation. And anyway, we'll get back to, sorry.
My old house, they had poured a patio but the concrete across the dirt started to hollow out underneath it, and so it had a crack and it was starting to sink. And
Yeah.
the repair cost on that, I was like, well, we're just gonna fall in one day. I don't care.
Right. Last thing I'll say about money real quick, because I just, it's on my brain, but my van needs my dad van needs the flywheel replaced. $1,500. 16 really. Yeah, so I was like, maybe I'll just trade it, because vans right now, like for a year older than mine with like 20,000 less miles, is like $15,000. I'm like, holy God, people, who's buying? Anyway, but I sat in a Ford Maverick today, man. Baller. This, like, I might actually pre-order one of them bad boys. Like, I don't know, dude. Like, I sat in it, and then in the back seat, I'm 6'3". In the back seat, I didn't adjust it. You could sit two of me comfortably driving and behind me. I was like, this is dope.
I have to say, if I were to do any new vehicle at all, honestly, I want a Toyota 4Runner. I would move from truck to SUV. I would like a little bit extra headroom, because in my Frontier, the seat's not height adjustable, and it's meant for people who are not 6'3". So like the windshield's like here, so you got to kind of slunk down. And the kit that they sell for my truck to change the seats out, it's like $900, and that's not. I'm not paying $900 to do that.
Right.
But I'm going to drive that truck till the wheels fall off, most likely. I hit 90,000 miles this week.
Yeah. See, that's the thing, man. I was like, man, now both of our cars are 10 years old-ish, and now they both have 100,000 miles on them, and I'm like, God dang it. Like, I just don't want to work on a car. I just replaced the serpentine belt on Brittany's car. But anyway, so let's so real quick, we'll finish up with Halloween 3 real fast. So let's say, like, we just talked about what we'd like to see with the different ideas of Michael Myers. But if they had to do Halloween 3, what do you think is the best way to go about it? Do you think sequel, remake, reimagining, prequel? What do you think?
I don't think they should sequel it. Legacy sequels are turning into the new reboot.
Right.
I'm kind of exhausted by them. Honestly, what I would like to see is maybe instead of this is like they did with Fresh Prince, where they brought everybody together and talked about the show or the film. Maybe something like that. Or I can maybe sit through a reboot, reimagining, something like that. It's just I don't think I'd give it my money as quickly as I would something with Michael Myers in it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's the problem, is that the masks are cool and iconic, but there's no central character that's really an icon. You know what I mean? There's nothing that you just see it and it's boom. That's, I mean, other than masks, it's you know, like I said, it's lacking characters that you really can just go, yep, that's what I would.
The movie would have to change significantly to the point that trailer or the cast or the director, or they would have to have something attached to it so good that you couldn't pass it up.
Right.
Maybe like with Deadpool 3 announcing Hugh Jackman. Like that's a hook, line, and sinker. Like,
Right.
yeah, everybody's going to go see that.
Right.
So I don't know what Halloween 3's next film could do, but
yeah, we'll get. I do want to talk about that for just a brief second, but that news. But I'm with Jabari on this one. Yeah, I think reimagining like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003, like with Child's Play and The Evil Dead, even though Evil Dead is not technically a remake or a reimagining, it's technically a sequel. Blah, I don't want to hear it. Yeah, I think that's the route to go, is reimagining. Like, hit some of the similar beats and just make it bigger, make it meaner. You know, put better characters in there, and keep the practical effects if you can. But yeah, I'm not a fan of Jackman coming back. What?
Well, I don't understand why. It doesn't hurt the Logan lore, because that was what, 2029, 2030, something like that. So technically, that fits in the timeline. It works. Because the Deadpool films are taking place now, like in current. So I'm good with that. Hugh Jackman, I don't care, was the right choice for Wolverine. Like, it just is. And that's why he hasn't been recast yet, or everything that says he's been recast has been hurriedly hushed.
Right. It was just testing the waters. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think him coming back is going to make Marvel Studios a crap ton of money. And I did also see where another famous, spoilers, dead MCU character posted, back from the dead. And that was Iron Man. Robert Downey Jr. posted that and then deleted the tweet. Logan is later. So this is like inserting a film before. Logan is like 20 years in the future.
Logan is not perfect. I got my problems with Logan. I don't see the magic that everybody.
I love Logan.
I see a solid movie. I see a solid 8 out of 10. I don't see a 10 out of 10. I don't see a 9 out of 10.
Logan was the best movie with Wolverine in it.
Oh, no.
Yep.
No. Days of Future.
And I'm a huge fan of the first X-Men.
Days of Future Past is the best with Hugh Jackman, but this is the last opportunity.
What?
What?
Days of Future? No.
Yeah. Days of Future Past is the best. Yeah. It is, man. It's a great movie. It blends both sets of actors together. The action's awesome. The story's great. Hugh Jackman's ripped out of his mind and awesome. He goes back and got the bone claws. Like, it's a fun ride.
I like that movie. I do. I enjoy it. I wouldn't even put that in the second spot for best Wolverine appearance.
Okay, let me burn it down, man. Logan's the best comic book movie ever. Let me burn it down right now and say that 1978 Superman is better than Logan. I'm just going to say that right now. The music, it doesn't touch the music. It does not touch the iconic status of 78 Superman. It doesn't touch Christopher Reeves as Superman. I love Hugh Jackman, but he doesn't even touch Christopher Reeves. Like,
what really sucks, I think that the best comic book film adaptation isn't even in my favorites list, and that's either going to be Punisher Warzone or Spider-Man No Way Home.
I love Warzone. Really do.
The characters perfectly.
That's what I said.
So those two I would put at the top. Yeah. And those aren't even my favorite like superhero movies by any means.
Yeah, but the last thing I'll say, since we're just getting into it, but the last thing I'll say about Hugh Jackman, this is the last opportunity to finally get Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, in a movie with a good villain that is not Magneto. Like, that was the biggest problem for me in Logan, is that you set up Mr. Sinister and you gave us crap for, and I get the layers of like him killing and like, you know what I'm saying, like him having to fight himself and blah, blah, blah. The villains are terrible. Like, they're okay, they fit the story well enough, but it doesn't have a good enough villain for him to have to rise to. Like, if you put Mr. Sinister in this movie with Deadpool and Logan, and you reconnect that Days of Future Past or no, which one was that? No, it was the Apocalypse. Apocalypse, blah, blah, blah. And you finish that up, wrap that up, give me a great villain with Hugh Jackman, and away you go. You set into Logan, and then that's how it finishes off. But I think this is the last opportunity to actually get Logan up against an actual good villain for himself. But I don't know what
by both of us.
I saw the original X-Men 1998 or 2000, whatever it was, 2000 anyway. I saw that in theaters, loved it. You know, you can feel that it's a little lower scale, you know. Loved X2. X2 arguably is a better movie. It's more action, blah, blah, blah. 3, I don't hate 3 as much as everybody else, but I do see the problems and that you can't look away. You know, the Wolverine is okay at best. Again, it suffers from having a horrible villain and just it's characters you don't really care about, fight scenes, blah blah blah. Like I don't know, man. Like you tell me, like what else is there? Like I like Logan and I like Wolverine Origins. I think the CGI is terrible and I think that it's a little
What I don't understand about Origins is still to this day, how were his claws better in the first X-Men?
Right.
How is that possible?
It felt like something that was a time crunch. Like I actually had a ripped version that people were passing around in college that I walked in on, and I didn't have it, but I saw a ripped version that it didn't have all the CGI put in there. So like some of the plane and the motorcycle and stuff like you could see just green screen or whatever. But there's some things that I thought like, oh well, they'll do this better when the movie comes out. Nope, no they won't. That was one of the worst CGIs ever. And the ending of that movie is absolute trash with Deadpool.
Which I think that's another big fan thing is getting Deadpool and Wolverine together, and not just Deadpool and Wolverine, but Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Now,
Right.
if we can toss a Spider-Man in the bunch, I think everybody will lose their minds. But
Right, but you got to start getting good villains in X-Men movies other than Magneto. Like, I mean, really look at Deadpool and Deadpool 2. Like the villains suck. Like, I mean, they're good enough for the movie they're in, but they're not. They don't even come close to Deadpool at all. There is no Joker to Batman other than Magneto. Magneto's like your only thing.
They gave Michael Fassbender more of a story arc than I think they planned to because he became a fan favorite. Of course, Ian
McKellen, yeah.
did an amazing job. Do not misquote me here. But Michael Fassbender, he took that role very, very seriously. And I think that's where his characterization came out a little more, and they started putting him in more and planning more for him. I really like his interpretation of Magneto. The challenges that he went through, and you can see his struggle with humanity and good and evil. I really like that. Not a big fan of the Deadpool movies, but Ryan Reynolds was the perfect choice. Yes. Right. Also, what? I mean, I'm not like a big fan, but I will laugh every time I see either one of those movies. Like, absolutely.
Yeah, it's one of the best turn your brain off movies ever. It's comfort food. Put your feet up in the fire.
I am so thankful they leaked that test footage.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was real. I mean, I watched it probably like 15 times before somebody told me it wasn't. Like, it wasn't, it wasn't an actual, like, clip from the movie. But, yeah, man.
God, I'm so happy they leaked that.
People need to go back and rewatch 78 Superman and realize the epicness of that movie and, like, the technology they made, the music by John Williams, and just the beginning with Marlon Brando and that you will make my strength your own, and like all of it's just so good. Struggles like Gene Hackman's fantastic in it. Struggles a little bit with a good villain, but it's more about the story of Superman. And Superman 2 is great too. Rest in peace, Richard Donner, who we lost last year. No, okay. Now Logan, I understand that you want to say Logan's better by today's standards, but for the time that 78 Superman came out, for what it did to superhero movies, Logan is nothing. Joker, Walking Phoenix Joker is nothing compared to 78 Superman. With all due respect and all the time it came out, yada yada, no. Like, you wouldn't have Logan without 78 Superman.
I'm just going to stop you right there. Comparing Logan to the garbage rehash of 4 different movies that was the Joker is just not okay by any stretch of the imagination.
But a lot of people love Joker. They think it's a masterpiece like Logan, and I can't get there either. Like,
Joker's not a masterpiece. I wouldn't say Logan is a masterpiece, but I think it is an amazing Wolverine film. Honestly, I think it's the best we're gonna get.
I think I put Logan just a little bit over Joker. I can see, like, cinematography's great, acting's great, but there's just not enough hook for me to really love it. Joker's not the same universe as Logan. No, it's
Yeah. No,
well,
it's not.
like
But
quality wise, he's just talking about quality wise. But
dude, we can't. No, Joker. Exactly. It is Taxi Driver, copy and pasted. They even put Robert De Niro in the thing, and I was sitting there watching that movie. Every time I've seen any clip from Joker, I'm like, saw that in Taxi Driver first.
right, and since we're talking about everything random other than what we're going to talk about, like Joker 2 with Lady Gaga as a somewhat musical, I'm like, if you deal with like the warped mind, like if they meet in the insane asylum, I think you can make it work.
But the ending of Joker did not need a sequel.
Yeah,
that's just it was.
Well, I do love Spawn. Don't you start bashing Spawn there. I love me some Spawn. I saw that in theaters.
I'd rather watch Spawn than a lot of movies, and I love Spawn. I would rather watch The Crow Wicked Prayer than The Joker.
Oh, that's rough, dude. That's pretty rough. Yeah, that's pretty rough.
Because it stole the whole movie and put a DC character in it. I can't.
Oh, that's dope, man, dude. You have the poster with like the half eye with like, what is it, the flames with the green eye with the white, dude. That poster is one of the coolest posters ever. Like, I think, does it have a little bit of the cape out of it? I'm trying to remember.
Jesus.
All right, we're burning it down now. So so done with Halloween 3. All the reviews are now finally in the books, and then when Ends comes out, we'll review that. And then we'll do a ranking of the entire franchise, which will be fun. Caleb, we've talked about Halloween Kills not too long ago. We're both mostly on the same page. It was something initially we were both extremely disappointed. I always from the beginning said that I feel like it will creep up a little bit. The good is great, the bad is bad. And every time I see it, it does this. It goes, yep, that's even worse. Yep, that's even better. Every time. And there's no middle ground. Everything that's dumb sticks out so hardcore that you can feel them writing it. You're just like, stop repeating yourself. Stop getting confused. Stop drinking while you're writing the story. Like, so like we've said, however many hundreds of times, we both were on the same page for 18. I liked it a little bit more than you did. But we were both on the same page of good, back to basics, the original intent of the character. It's back in track. Like it's a heightened version of Michael Myers. It's 78 felt right for its time. And now, like we said, like Michael's been caught for another 40 years, 15, now 40. Like, so now he's out just making up for lost time. The ending of the 18 gets a little wonky, but for the most part is awesome. It's got a good build. It's got some cat and mouse and stuff like that. And then the way Kills opens up with him busting out of the basement is awesome. Like the way he grabs the firefighter, the way he rolls up the door, like he some of the firefighter scene stuff is dumb. Like we were both like, why is he ninjutsu master all of a sudden? Like, but the way the movie falls on its face at the very end, like I'm on board for it for the most part, like Michael Myers wise. Like, here's your mask, come and get it. I'm vulnerable just like she was. They come get me, and then boom, gotcha. And I love it. And then they beat the piss out of him, and I was like, oh my god, like did they mess with us about Halloween Ends? Was this a joke that it was never gonna happen? That, you know what I'm saying? Like how badass would that have been to end right then and there and to just not have it, you know what I mean? To really throw you a curveball. And then he gets shot like 3 or 4 times, stabbed with a pitchfork. Fingers were blown off earlier, all this stuff, stabbed multiple times, like, and he gets up and just lays waste in the most horribly shot, anticlimactic way ever. And then to add insult to injury, to add a crusty, fungus, mildew, nasty cherry on the end of it, you have him pop up out of nowhere and kill Karen at the very end of the movie. And I was just like, great. great. He's full supernatural. You killed everybody. Where do we go from here? Like, where do we go? Caleb, give me your thoughts, and where do we go, and what do you want to see?
Where they're going to go is they're going to give some sort of explanation as to how he gets his power, and then they're either going to kill him or kill Laurie, or kill them both. That is my prediction. However,
I had to kill the Christmas sweater wearing lady in the first movie. Dude, that doesn't bother me because it's like Halloween H2O when she goes to California. You went away from it. You are,
she's escaping the problem. She's
right, you're
covering up the
boycotting
problem with something positive in her view.
right.
But what I would like to see, what I think would bring me back full circle to accepting this trilogy a little bit more, I want it to be a little more slow-paced. I want it to focus a little bit, because have you watched any of the new trailers or TV spots?
I did it with kind of blinders on because I didn't want to dig deep. Like a lot of people, like the synopsis with like Corey and with, they were doing breakdowns of like, well, if you look at this, this is this, and if you look at that, this is that, and like, well, it can't be this because it's that, and like I'm like, guys, like. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you watch a trailer and then when you watch the movie, you're like, wow, they really gave everything away. And then sometimes you watch the trailer and you're like, man, half of that wasn't in the movie. You know what I mean? Like I feel like this is something that's not beyond a dream sequence. That's not beyond, a flashback or a prank or something like that that has not a whole lot to do with the movie. So I didn't put a lot of stock in what they wanted you to get hyped for because... well, they just fumbled the football, so I'm just not very excited to watch the other team go score a touchdown anymore. You know, I don't know.
I feel like what I want to see more of is Laurie. Unfortunately, since I've seen the trailers and I've seen the TV spot and I am mildly intelligent, so I'm able to kind of figure out what they're going to do with the Corey character and what they're going to do with the memoir and all of that. Like that shouldn't have been in the trailer. It shouldn't have been, because I know exactly where it's going to go now. Also, showing Laurie and Michael in certain positions in the trailer gives too much. Like I saw too much. I know what I have a fairly good idea of how it's going to end, and I'm just not excited.
That's what sucks as fans. You want to see these trailers because you're getting excited. You want a little bit of, you want a taste test before you eat the whole gallon of ice cream. Like, and Jason's right. It's like that's why you skip the trailers and stuff. You know you're going to watch. Not only that, but like, why do you need such heavy trailers when your marketing for this movie should be the previous two movies? Like you shouldn't have to amp up this new movie too terribly much when you already had two other movies. Like, I mean, and that's the problem, is that this movie takes place 4 years later and has all these new ideas and all this new crap with I just don't understand. It felt like they abandoned some original ideas and now they're just like, and where do we go from here? Like, I felt like in Kills, Michael probably should have died at the end of that, and that would have been the end of what they had planned. But I could be wrong.
I also think, horror trailers themselves typically do give too much away because they show a kill, they show a scary moment or 10. And then when you make it to the theater, you've already seen half of the scary things that happen in various trailers. So it doesn't really blow your mind. I don't know, man. It's kind of, I'm going to go see it, but I'm kind of over it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I've kept my expectations so low for the past, for Scream 5, I really tried to keep it low. For Halloween Kills, I tried to keep it low because everybody was overhyping that too. But it's something where I can't help it. Like, once I have the ticket purchased, once I'm headed to the theater, once we get there and start talking about it, I can't help but hope that it's my favorite or second favorite or favorite sequel, but I'm always let down because there's I don't know, like, not everything's been a letdown, but it's like X. I thought X was okay. Wasn't the next coming of Jesus himself. I thought the Black Phone, it was okay. I pray to God it gets a sequel because there's so many unanswered questions, and I felt like there was.
What's funny is I really liked the Black Phone, and I hope it doesn't get a sequel. I like the standalone texture. I like that not everything's answered. I like that it creates its own little world that it lives in, that not everything's explained. I really, really liked that, and I feel like too few movies do that, where like you want more, but you can respect what it's already given you.
Yeah, there's too many unanswered open things. It's kind of like Us, where like I don't think Us needs a sequel by any means, but there's so many unanswered questions, and like, well, that doesn't fit, that doesn't work. I need one more, but I'd like to see double body count of kills and ends. Oh my God! Like
that's what I want in a Friday movie. Like that, absolutely.
They have to be lined up like in The Walking Dead when they're like all over the trough and like people are just getting slaughtered along the trough. Like there's no way you're gonna get more kills and ends. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, like it just sucks. Like coming off of fumbling the football and now you're into the third act and you're setting up all this new stuff. It kind of feels like Star Wars, the Last Jedi. I know you're not a big Star Wars fan, but like that movie had a lot of crap that nobody wanted to see, that jacked with everybody's expectations just to be different, and then it ended on a note that was like that's a note you end in the first movie, not in the second movie. And now all of a sudden in the third movie you have all this new crap coming at you when you should be finishing what was started in the first and second movie. But yeah, I don't know. Jason's never had a rampage like Michael had in Kills. I would argue that. I mean, I would say in Freddy vs. Jason, when he's going through the cornfield, he beast modes like, what, 7 or 8 people? I mean, that's...
And originally that shoot, he was supposed to kill everybody else there, I guess. Yeah. Like that. Which, that would have been a really cool sequence. But...
nobody does it like Leatherface, though, I'll tell you.
Dude, 2022 Leatherface. Man, that bus scene is awesome. Wow. I don't care how many people hate the movie. That scene is going down in history as one of the coolest kill segments. It just is. Right. Movies. Okay, so I'm not excited for Halloween Ends, but I'm going to go see it. Jeepers Creepers Reborn, I don't want to waste my time. I've listened to reviews and listened to walkthroughs. That sounds horrible. Terrifier 2. It's really interesting because, as I said earlier, like you don't want too much over-explanation. People say that Terrifier 2 is giving the right amount of explanation and blowing up in people's faces how awesome it is. So I'm really, really, really stoked for that one. And I think there's also there's a difference in Terrifier Art the Clown is like its own thing where I'm not really comparing it to 40 years of other things. It's very new, it's very contained. I mean, I guess 2008, 2009 isn't very new, but it's new enough, and he's had so few appearances that a little explanation sprinkled in is good. The new Hellraiser is getting glowing reviews. I cannot wait for that. I don't know, man. It kind of sucks that the two franchises that are the most well-regarded in everything I just mentioned, Halloween and Jeepers Creepers, are probably going to have my least favorite movies.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I have no want to watch Jeepers Creepers, and in fact, I'm kind of making it a point not to. Look, I can't remember the director's name. A younger up-and-coming director, that's fine. Tebow, whatever his name is. Here's a problem. Okay, right. I can't remember the budget either, but it's a micro budget. They shot it during COVID. It's a known IP. That first movie is awesome. Second movie is a fun ride, nowhere near as good as that first movie. you don't need a big budget to shoot a Jeepers Creepers movie. Now, it is harder. I mean, he flies, you got prosthetics, all that stuff. It is harder. But I don't know what to tell you, man. Get some actors in there, write a decent story. That first movie, up until like the last 20-ish minutes, is just a hitchhiker monster movie that doesn't do anything crazy. It's all about the connection and the love between brother and sister, and like this unstoppable force that's creepy and that's toying with them, and like that. Like
I've listened to the plot.
No budget.
I've listened to the plot synopsis of this movie, and I have zero interest in watching it. I'm not even sure I'll watch it when it hits Netflix, because I've also hit this unique age in life where, like, if I don't have an interest, I'm not going to waste my time doing it. Right. I will catch the highlights. Eventually, when YouTube has some of the kills on there, I'll watch those. And if that sparks my interest, I'll go watch the movie.
Yeah. I'm kind of of the opinion of I'm starting to take, like you said, like my money and my time seriously. Like the Munsters just came out. It's getting mostly negative reviews. I loved the Munsters growing up, so did you. I don't want to watch it because I don't want to support a piss poor attempt. Not that he did it on purpose, but
I'm gonna watch it only because I want to see how it compares to that really bad Christmas special and the other like attempts. I want to go back and watch the Mockingbird Lane one with Eddie Izzard. I think it only got a pilot. That I wish that would have went further. I think that would have been awesome.
But
speaking of Hellraiser, how do you have Hell on Earth so low? Man, if we ever cover the Hellraiser franchise, I have got a beating to talk about for Hellraiser 3.
Man,
John hasn't seen it, I don't believe.
I have not. I don't see that comment. That's weird. The corn scene, the cornfield is the last comment I have. That's weird. Look, Hellraiser 1 and 2, it's kind of like Jeepers Creepers for the most part. It's great. The first movie, the second movie, it gives you everything you need. I don't really need anything more after Hellraiser 2. Like, it just doesn't, like, it's the same thing with Jeepers Creepers. I don't need to see what are you going to do in a third Jeepers Creepers movie that takes place after the second movie that's going to build on what's already come. I just don't, like, it was a steady decline, and I was like, I don't need to see it. So yeah, I think Hellraiser, and to me, Hellraiser has never, even when it was made, it had restraints on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's never lived up to its full potential. It's never been able to get nasty enough because it's not marketable enough to get nasty. To get
I think
truly nasty.
The first two films did a lot more than other films at that time. After that, the budget changes, the parent company that owned the rights, so many different things happened where it just became meh. Right. And then when somebody finally went, I really want to actually give Hellraiser his due, they made Hellraiser Revelations. And Doug Bradley was out of the question because of financial constraints for the director at the time. And that is the worst Hellraiser movie. Everybody will say it. It is the absolute worst. And that's one of the few that they were trying extremely hard on.
Really? I thought that was one that they just kind of threw it together to keep the rights, and that they offered Doug Bradley like $5,000.
No. Most of those we did it to keep the rights were the like 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So all the detective Hellraiser movies that were actually like horror cop scripts that they tossed Hellraiser in to keep the rights. Hellraiser Revelations wasn't a rights attempt. It was I can't think of his name, but he worked on the first two Hellraiser films. He took an interest and directed it. He wanted it to be true to the Hellraiser lore, to the Clive Barker, to all that. And it turned out horrible. I can see what he was trying to do. It just ended bad. And then Hellraiser Judgment was another I really like it, but it is over the top in the wrong way for a lot of Hellraiser fans, and I get that. But I think that Paul T. Taylor did an amazing job as Pinhead. And I'm actually a little bit sad that we probably won't get to see him do it again.
Yeah, there's talk that this might be like an alternate reality, and this is before like people saw the movie. So, but there was talk about this might be an alternate reality or whatever, or there might be other hell priests. So it's possible you might see a cameo of other. That would be dope if there was like the three horsemen or whatever, right? So you got the new gal, and then the like two of the other dudes roll in. Like you just get like one scene and like say you do a trilogy, and in the third movie, all three of them come in and just like lay waste to everybody or something.
Well, I do know Doug Bradley. They wanted him for a cameo in this film, but since they were working outside of COVID and he recently had a cancer scare and all that, he didn't do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they reached out to Paul T. Taylor or Steve. I can't think of his last name from Revelations. We'll see when it comes out. I'm ridiculously excited for Hellraiser and Terrifier 2. I think those are both going to be a great time. Everybody says it's not a problem, but Terrifier 2 is 2.5 hours long.
2 hours and 18 minutes. That's ridiculous.
I'm just like trying to figure out how that time frame fits. After I watched Terrifier the other day, and it's like a solid 90 some odd minutes. It works. Yeah. It works. But all the people who have seen Terrifier 2 already are like, oh no, the runtime is not a problem for the movie. And I don't understand.
Well, some people do say that, I mean, it's so much that like by the end you're almost desensitized. Like 20 minutes probably could have been cut out, but from what I understand, it was crowdfunded, so it's a labor of love. It's a passion project for the director. Practical effects is what he's all about. So he gets the money, he gets the time. By God, he's going to give you what you expect. And there is no way that this movie won't make its budget back, exponentially, right? Like, I got to imagine, like...
They never thought it was going to actually get theatrical release like this. It's weird because so many fans pushed theaters into adding them. So October 6th, AMC being one of the places that shows it, a lot of other small theaters have had fans push them into a showing, and they're selling out showings. That's crazy.
If you had to guess, what do you think it's going to make? Like, I'm going to say it's probably going to make... I don't know. I don't know, man. The horror's hot. It's October.
It's a different level of horror, though. I think if you get a casual moviegoer who's not necessarily into horror and Terrifier, I think they're going to walk out. But their dollars are still going to be there. So I don't know.
It's a sequel, so I think that most people that show up are either just going to give it a shot, or for most of it, I think that like 85% of people will have seen the first movie. I'm going to go and say that it's going to make somewhere between, I feel like 15 is probably a better number, but I'm going to say about 18 million, somewhere between 15 and 20. And that's insane because the first movie, I'm not sure how much it made, but it was shot for $36,000. $36,000. Like, fan films have more money than $36,000. Like, I mean, that's kind of what the first Terrifier is. I mean, to be fair, I mean, it's a fan film.
It's a grindhouse horror movie about a character that the director created before All Hallows Eve, and did a short, and then added that short to All Hallows Eve, and then people liked that character, so he made it a full-length film.
Can you imagine, though, being that, like, you made a $36,000 movie that blows up, and everybody can't shut up about... And, I mean, you have characters like Hatchet with Victor Crowley. You have The Collector, which is awesome, and nobody talks about him. Nobody. You have Jeepers Creepers. You have The Creeper. People talk about him. Art came on the scene and blew all of them away, and like is like the only one in the past 20 years to truly stand out for one low budget. Everybody, and David Howard Thornton or whatever his name is, he is that character the way Doug Bradley, the way that our horror icons are. Robert Englund, he is that guy. So I truly believe that if this movie kills it, he will be a horror icon on the Mount Rushmore, maybe, or like the B tier, like we did. But I don't know. So I think somewhere in the ballpark of $15 million out of $250,000. So you had $36 million or $36,000, and then for the first movie, and then you got a budget, or you got crowdfunded $250,000. That's why this movie is bigger and badder and meaner and longer and with more depth, more story, because people wanted more story. Like, I can't wait to watch it. But talking about budget real quick. So Halloween 2018 did $255 million, which is insane. It's one of the highest grossing, if not the highest grossing horror movie of all time. Kills comes out. Obviously, it's coming out on the end of a pandemic, and it went to Peacock with 131. But you would see this in the franchise, where the first movie would do like 70 million, the second movie would do 25, and then the third movie would do 14. So you would see a slow, nice, chunky lower. Caleb, where do you see? So once again, we're free of the pandemic for the most part.
But it's going to be
going to Peacock. What do you think?
I'm going to say a similar. I think it'll cross the 100, but I don't see it going much over. I don't know, especially because people are going to be burnt out by this point. I think you're going to have a lot of the hardcore horror fans and Halloween fans, but I think general audience is just going to stream it.
Yeah, I think it's also hard because, like, if you look at it, like, yeah, it's going up against Jeepers Creepers, Pearl, Barbarian. It's going up against, well, it's not really up against. It's not the same time, but you have Hulu's throwing out Hellraiser. Art is out there on the scene killing it with Terrifier 2. You have so much horror, which is great. But by the time this comes out, I think you're going to be done with one viewing. And I think more people are going to stream it from Peacock this go around because you were kind of kicked in the lower end with Kills. So I'm going to say 95 max.
I also think it's an interesting choice on DC's part, but they're releasing Black Adam same weekend. So I think it's going to be interesting to see those duke it out.
What? They're releasing Black Adam? What?
Yeah.
Why? That's weird. That's weird.
It is weird.
I don't know, man. I'm going to say 95 high. I would say if I really had to put, like, how many beans are in the jar, I would probably say 84 million. Like, I just feel like Peacock is going to dominate this one. You'll get a big push that opening weekend, and then I think it'll just...
I think we are going to... I honestly think that the potential movie that we have here with Ends is going to kind of put a nail in the coffin of the Halloween franchise for a while. But I think Terrifier 2 getting this theatrical release and this wide reception is actually going to lead to another change in horror, kind of like the recent change with Hereditary and Midsommar and Pearl and all those, like that more in-depth psychological type of horror.
And you could have, like, if Saw actually comes out and actually has a decent reception this time and actually has a decent story, you might see some more of that torture gore again, to where it goes more graphic and bloody and it less on story and just we're here for the ride again, especially because they've been talking about this Final Destination forever. Like, there is a big possibility that swing comes back in again. Especially, Hellraiser, these are really gruesome movies that could push that again.
Yeah, and people are saying that Hellraiser is extremely gruesome. So I'm more excited for that and Terrifier than Halloween, which sucks because Halloween is my favorite horror franchise, and here we are.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm still the most excited for. Boy, I don't know. Well, I'm the most invested in Halloween. So it's weird because like if I had to only go to one, I'm more invested in wanting to know answers to Halloween and see how it wraps up. This is also like the end of Jamie Lee Curtis. This is probably the end of John Carpenter in the franchise. You know, I mean, it might pass on to like Cody Carpenter or something else like that, but you know, it's the end of a ride. I think I'm more invested in that, but I'm more. I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna have more fun with Terrifier 2, but I'm more invested in Halloween ends. But
Yeah.
what last thing before we get out of here? Child's Play season 2. Did you finish Child's Play season or check? Yeah, did you finish that?
Yeah, I finished the first season. It was fun. I'm probably not going to pay a monthly subscription to watch the second season.
Yeah, I'm not either. I had a lot of fun. I think Chucky's the best in the series than he is. I think he's the best in anything. I think he's the best in the series. He's so much fun. But yeah, I don't really like the characters too much. They're very whiny and like most of them look like the gal in it's always got RBF. The kid in it, the main guy, is always looking like he's ready to cry. The love interest of the main character, I can't remember his name, Devin, something like that. He is always like just reacting to everybody and doesn't have like a whole lot going on. Like I'm struggling with some of the characters. We'll see. And then the old returning characters are not really hitting it home. So Brad Dourif is just carrying this thing on his back and just crushing it. Like,
Yeah.
you're there to see Chucky and you're getting awesome Chucky, so it's good enough to keep it going. But super excited. Soon we will be talking, next week we'll be talking Hellraiser, and we might go Friday night or some other time so that way we can talk Hellraiser and Terrifier 2. And then like maybe last minute thoughts on Halloween Ends before it comes out. But Jabari, Jason, thanks for hanging out with us. Check out the rest of our videos so you can get some more R&R. Do us a favor and like, comment, subscribe. If you haven't, we will see you next time. Bye-bye.